right, today on the second episode of the Danny Beal podcast, we have another very special guest. Second to Carter, but second guest nonetheless. We have 2024 AAC Pitcher of the Year, 2024 All-American, and pretty much every other publication you can think of in college baseball. Blue Jays first rounder. I think what 94th overall prospect in baseball now.
Somewhere in the 90s.
Something or the other.
Yeah.
But my roommate, Trey Yesavage.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, buddy. How you been? How you doing?
Hanging in there. Glad to be in Greenville and enjoying life.
Yeah.
Almost like I'm a normal college student now.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
I still
actually
have some responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like I work out,
As we all
throw
do.
every day, but I mean, I got all day to do whatever I want.
Yeah, you do. But what have you been up to since obviously we moved in a couple months? But tell everybody what you've been up to.
Yeah, so this summer I was down in Dunedin, Florida, just training, throwing some bullpens. Didn't throw in any games, just wanted to get a baseline on me, the Blue Jays did. And then after that, I was free to head off for the off season. So I've been living with Danny and Carter here in Greenville. And it's been a great time.
How's been working at Young's? Obviously, people are probably seeing the promos and stuff. What are you doing over there?
So I'm giving some lessons, pitching lessons. I've only had 4 so far.
Yeah, get out and support the young lad. I mean, geez, he's a first rounder for God's sake.
I've only had 4, but it's been good. It's good to reinvest into the youth of this city and this area,
Sure.
And give back because I know a lot of those kids were at our baseball games for
No doubt.
you 4 years, me 3 years, supporting us the whole way through. They didn't care if we did good or bad. They were just there rooting for the Pirates. So it's awesome to give back to the community.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's get into it then. Speaking of, I guess, the children and your childhood, kind of take us through, you grew up in Pennsylvania, born and raised. So kind of take us through, obviously, people kind of know the whole, I guess, relative story in terms of you got into baseball pretty late. But kind of take us through growing up in Pennsylvania. You obviously have 2 brothers, but growing up with your brothers and pretty much doing everything but baseball until pretty much your teenage years, right?
I mean, I've always played baseball since T-ball, so when I was 4, but it was never anything serious. Just playing little league. I didn't play what they call travel baseball now, like where you're seeing scouts at your games and stuff until I was 15, I believe. But I grew up in Pennsylvania. Grew up there with 2 younger brothers, and our house resides on my grandparents' 100-acre farm. And on that property as well is my aunt, uncle, and my 3 cousins, who were all boys as well. So we had 6 boys running around the property, and we'd be playing wiffle ball at my grandma's house every Sunday. And then if we were together during the week, we'd be playing it then too. But I grew up playing baseball. My true love for sports was football. I love football. I was a defensive end, offensive tackle.
Jeez, dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I wasn't like the biggest kid. I was just like a big body.
Oh,
like,
tackle, yeah, I bet.
I wasn't like strong or muscular or anything.
Sure.
I was just a big body that they could stick on the line, and I loved it. Played that with my best friends that are still my best friends when I go back home. But it wasn't until I told my mom, I was like, I think I might want to play college baseball, and she's like, okay. Like,
when did you tell her that? Was that high school?
This was fall of sophomore year of high school.
I mean, nowadays that's like super late.
Yeah.
Like it's in terms of recruiting, that is so late.
Right. Up until that point, I was playing Junior Legion. I was going to play Junior Legion that next spring, but I told my mom I want to play college baseball, so she got on Google, looked at some stuff, and she found like this PBR camp in like central Pennsylvania. So she asked me if I want to do that. I was like, yeah. And went there with my dad. First time I've ever been on a radar gun. First time I've ever had like people watch me play, like to analyze me.
Right. And for people that don't know, Prep Baseball Report is what PBR is. It's like another iteration of Perfect Game. It's just another set of eyes and scouts that analyze kids and recruit kids and help them get to play college baseball. But yeah, I mean it's pretty spot on. It's the first time I'm sure you've ever been in front of a radar gun.
Yeah, first time. and I believe I topped out at 87 or 88, and at that point I was 14, and I had a travel ball baseball coach come up to me and was like, "Where are you playing?" I was like, "Oh, my junior legion team."
He's like, "Dude, what?"
And he's like, "What?" He goes, "You know you can go to any college you want to." And I was like, "Really?" At that point, I was wearing a Penn State sweatshirt because I grew up a Penn State fan. My dad went to Penn State, and he's like, "You want to go to Penn State?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, no kidding,
sure."
Yeah,
I was like, anywhere. I would like to play anywhere. But that travel ball coach that came up to me gave me his card, and I ended up playing for them, that travel baseball team, which is the Keystone State Bombers, out of Manheim, Pennsylvania, which is right by Lancaster. I just played for them, and the rest was history. I got an offer from, I believe it was either Boston College or Virginia Tech before I even threw a pitch in travel baseball.
which is crazy because I feel like that was more just recruiting based off like the raw talent, raw body that you could obviously see that you looked apart in pretty much every facet you could think of. But it's crazy to think that even before you like even step foot on the mound, they're like, "Yeah, come play for us," which is just goes to show like how much talent they potentially saw in you in the end. But obviously, a lot of people, some people don't know your recruiting story, but you ended up playing with the Dirtbags for a little bit, for like what, a couple tournaments or a tournament or two?
I played a tournament down in Jupiter.
Yeah.
Or it was supposed to be in Jupiter, and then it got moved somewhere else because of COVID.
Right.
And then I played like just a spot game. I just came in for an out or two.
And a lot of people know the Dirtbags just because it's pretty much North Carolina's premier team and stuff, and a lot of kids that have came from the Dirtbags came to play here. But you didn't initially commit to East Carolina right away. You committed to another school and then decommitted and came here. So go through that, and a little, because a lot of people, like I said, don't know that story about you weren't always coming here.
No, I wasn't. I originally was committed to Pittsburgh. I feel like in this area I have to say Pittsburgh.
Yeah, not Pitt.
If I say Pitt, you're gonna think of a community college.
Right?
So I always say Pittsburgh. I was committed there before my sophomore year. So I got recruited, that winter was when I was on the radar gun for the first time, and then that summer is when I committed to Pitt. And I mean, I loved the pitching coach there, Coach Jerry Oakes. He was a great guy, great coach, but him and Pitt parted ways. He ended up going to Elon, and the phone call I had to have with Mike Bell, their head coach, was probably one of the hardest phone calls I've had to make, being a 15-year-old.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I was like, it's in the best interest for myself, and I've talked to it with my family, coaches, whatnot, and it wasn't taken very well, I would say.
As most college coaches wouldn't.
I know he saw it coming just because of some conversations I had with other people that got back to him for some reason, which is kind of disrespectful to my part.
Yeah.
But after that, funny story about that. So I decommitted.
Right.
That same night, or not that same night, the next day, I was at my buddy's house. Okay. Dropped my phone in the pool. Phone broken after having all these college coaches text.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like quite possibly the worst time to do that.
The worst time. And I had to take phone calls on my parents' phone, texting my travel ball coach to give him my dad's number so I could talk to them on that. And it was a whole fiasco. But thankfully, East Carolina needed one more pitcher on their staff because it was August before senior year when I decommitted. So it was very late in the recruiting process. Yeah. And I was the last recruit in our 2021 class.
Pretty good one to get.
Thankfully, East Carolina had a spot for me, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it all worked out, I guess. And you came in right when AK, it was his first year pitching coach, too. Because my first year, so we're 1 year apart. I'm 1 year older than you, but my first year was Dietz, and then he left. Did you ever end up talking to Dietz at all in the midst of recruiting and stuff?
Yeah, I honestly didn't talk to him as much as
a lot of Coach G.
It was mostly Coach G and Coach Palumbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only talked to him probably twice. And then when I saw him on campus, when I came in the summer, he was there in his office, but he really wasn't around because
he's pretty much mailed in. He was ready to leave probably. But how is your relation? Obviously, now compared to when you were a freshman, and for people that don't know, Trey was practically mute when he was a freshman. He was so shy. He would never talk to anyone. He wouldn't even talk to. I remember vividly the first time I ever met you. We were in Jake Kuchmaner's living room, and I came up to you and I said, "What's up?" And you literally looked at me, gave me like, "What's that?" and just like looked away, and just you weren't doing anything. You just didn't want to talk to me. And I'm like, "All right, this is going to be a hard shell to break." But our I guess our first bonding moment was everybody thought that we looked alike. There were a couple people that came up to me and were like, "So, when were you going to tell us you had a little brother that was coming or a cousin?" And I'm like, I personally don't see it. I still am iffy. I think over time I've gotten used to it and I can like see it a little bit, but I don't know. You tell us.
I don't know.
All the listeners, you tell us. I don't know.
There's been so many fans, random people.
We make jokes about it.
Our own teammates' parents.
Oh yeah. I mean,
they call me Danny, call him Trey.
There have been so many times when. So I lived across the street from the baseball field for the last 3 years, and I would walk to and from games every night. And so I can count probably close to 15 times where I've been walking home, and it's a Friday night. It's like 10:30. People have been drinking, of course, and they're like, "Hey, Trey, what a pitch!" And I'm like, "Thanks, appreciate it," and just kept it moving. I didn't correct him. I was just gonna, because pretty good recognition if you ask me. But same thing with him. Like people would be like, "Hey, Danny, what a pitch the other night," and he's, I don't know if you would ever correct him, but it's crazy how often it actually does happen.
No, I never did. I think. Maybe when we both have facial hair, it looks a little similar.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I just shaved yesterday, so
well,
maybe not right now.
It's okay. You don't have a mustache. I have a mustache now, but anyway. So you come onto campus as a freshman. How do you think your first fall went?
My first fall was awful.
Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page. This episode of the Danny Beal Show is brought to you by Todd Howell. Todd is one of great mentors of mine. He has always been a huge supporter of ECU Baseball, but he is over at Kaufman's. Go and get your winter wear and a fall wear, all that good stuff, and support him. But he is a huge supporter of me and the podcast and ECU Baseball, so go support him at Kaufman's. Yeah, it was like he kind of mentioned earlier, a lot of raw talent, big body, a lot to work with, but just not a lot of execution early on. And it kind of translated into early in the spring. I remember when I think your first outing was Campbell, right?
First outing was Bryant.
First
game of the year.
Then because everybody threw that game because we were getting blown out. Yeah, I remember you came in against Campbell and you were throwing like 94-mile-an-hour bounce passes off J-Dub's chest, just like absolutely wearing him out. And it's like, still, we got a lot to work with. It's just we got to get him in the zone. And come to find out, you're the best 1-3 out pitcher in the country. You pitched, 14 straight games or something crazy like that? It
was either 10 or 11.
Which is just absurd. And then obviously you go through to the Super Regional, and it's pretty cool freshman year moment to pitch in front of probably 80. We were talking about last week with Carter, probably close to, it was more than 6,000. I think it was definitely 8,000 to 9,000. But coming in all three games, and then pitching in relief of me after a 6-hour rain delay in game 3. Like, go through, I guess, a little bit of your thought process through your freshman year, because your sophomore and your junior year were great, but there were a lot of trials and tribulations of, hey, is this, I mean, don't let me speak for yourself, but a lot of, am I actually like built for this? Like, this sucks right now. I'm all over the place. I can't find the strike zone. What do you think?
Yeah, so like I said, or like we said, my freshman year was awful. Could not consistently throw a strike with any pitch. So that's why I came into campus with fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and I was just fastball, curveball after 2 weeks on campus. Mm-hmm. But that fall was a struggle, and Coach Knight and I tried so much stuff. We would find some things that would hit, some things that wouldn't. But it was just like a learning curve of just being in a new place, having to be a pitcher, not just a thrower anymore, and developing into a mature body almost. Like, because I kept growing, I grew in the weight room and whatnot. So I just had to figure a lot of stuff out. And those that have followed me, my freshman year, I was strictly slide stepping to the plate. I was like a 1-1-1 flat to the plate.
Yeah, literally.
No leg kick, no nothing. And
But it worked.
It
Like that's what you had to do to throw strikes.
Right.
It worked.
It simplified everything for me, and made everything easier on the mound. I could just go out there, and I would say my freshman year was more of a thrower than a pitcher.
Yeah, but like I was saying earlier, it got to the point where you were, I mean, despite Spivey and Saylor, obviously, literally hey, there's a fire, go put it out guy.
Right.
And you were the first guy out. And if people remember 2022, we didn't have starters. It was an opener that would go, maybe C.J. Mayhew towards the end would go a little like further, but it was, we're going to have a guy go out there, start the game for an inning or two, and then Trey's probably going to come in when they get on base, and then we'll just put it together from there. And you were nails towards the end, dude. I mean, you like, what was the pitching 11 games or days, whatever it was in a row like? I mean, that couldn't have been easy.
Yeah, it was 11 games. It started, I think, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, and then every game in the conference tournament, and then into the regional.
Yeah.
So
all in the midst of a 20-game win streak.
Right. The conference tournament stretch was definitely a little tough because we're playing. I guess we won every game that year, so we were playing every other day,
exactly.
But for an entire week. And you might say I was nails, but I still give Carter Spivey some crap for boosting my ERA in the conference tournament.
He's the worst for that. I still give you crap because the first runs that you decided to give up that year was after I started against Elon. You came in and gave up a ball that landed in my living room across the street.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But no, it was definitely a learning curve. Like as a freshman, you're never going to go into a place, or it's very unlikely you go into a place and you're lights out right away, and you're efficient and you're dominating and whatnot, whatever you want to call it. But it's a growth. You're a freshman for a reason. You're not just going to jump into it and be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, at least in my time, it's only happened. There's been one guy every year as a freshman that I wouldn't say is like out of this world good, but you think Moreland was a freshman All-American when I was a freshman. You think
JC.
You were JC, probably more JC because JC was an All-American, but you still helped us out a ton. Root was pitching in a winner-go-home game in a regional and went like 4 shutout, right? Mm-hmm. And then you think this year, I mean, you could name a couple guys. You could, Bristol, who, whatever, he left. But, I mean, there are a couple other guys where you think, like, there's normally one guy every year that is filling the role of, like, all right, I'm going to step up and just succeed right away. But that always doesn't happen. Like, it's very rare is kind of what you're saying. Right. But then you pitch all those days in a row, and then we get into the the regionals and the super regionals, and you still go and 60 times the biggest crowd you've ever pitched in front of, and then you obviously come out after I start the game 3 and it doesn't go that well, but then you come in after the rain delay and are still throwing 95 plus. So what was that? 6 hours probably like?
It was different because I came in for you, let up a run or two, and got one out. I think it was on a sack bunt, but then the storm rolled in, and we didn't know how long it was going to last. And Coach Knight told me I'm going back out there whether I like it or not. So I hung out in the team room for probably an hour and a half or so, and then after that, we didn't know when the game was going to start.
I don't think anybody told us until 30 minutes before it started.
So I had like a few weighted balls, and I was throwing them in the shower, in the locker room
because we couldn't go in the indoor
to keep my arm up because we didn't know if we were going to have to go out there and have 30 minutes to get ready. But eventually, after 5.5?
Yeah, I mean, we started at 4. Rain delay started at 4:30. First pitch was at like 11.
Yeah,
so it's crazy.
But ended up going back out there, and I was pretty much just going on adrenaline. I ended up punching out the next 2 guys, waved the crowd up.
Oh my gosh! Even
got all the fans going. And then I went back out there for the second inning, and I think I gave up like 3 runs.
But that was literally the point. Was like I remember you came in and we're like, all right, well, if he can do it after 6 hours, let's just give him 10 minutes. Maybe he can go out and do another inning. But lo and behold, we ended up losing that game. But overall, towards the end, you would call it not what you certainly not how you drew it up, but relatively successful, especially heading into summer ball where you went and played with Shank and Carter in Charlottesville, and you had a great summer.
Yeah.
And you guys played really well collectively as a team, right? So you pitched in some pretty, I would say, important games in terms of your development. But how was that summer playing with them?
It was awesome having Carter Cunningham and Wyatt Lunsford Shankman there. We were roommates there. Carter and I slept in the same bedroom. It was awesome. It was a great experience. But I mean, our team should not have lost a game in summer ball. We were SEC, ACC, top mid-major guys, and we were playing guys from, no disrespect, for D2, D3 schools.
Yeah, well,
yeah. Like, we should have not lost a game. But, I mean, we had so much fun. But along with that, like you said, like growing to be a starter in summer ball, just trying to figure out how in between innings I need to react to go out that next inning and be able to do the same thing over again.
When you pitched in high school, were you a starter?
I was.
Okay, so I guess that was a complete culture shock to you when you came in and were a reliever right away, but I guess it kind of got you back to the normal of at least you saw like I guess you couldn't really even say it when we were freshmen because you didn't really have starters to like actually emulate, but like you said, you saw what it took and actually learned your body of what you need to do in between innings to keep being successful in between innings and outings and stuff.
Right. I thought it was more of a mental thing, just being able to keep focused, even if I go in between innings and I'm sitting on the bench after the first inning, like figure out how to keep my mind locked in so when I go out there for the second inning, I can still do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, you had a great summer. Obviously, you guys played super well, but you come back in to campus with relatively high expectations, I would think. Obviously, we have Spivey and Saylor back, and Gross is a year older. I'm a year older. We're developing a lot on the mound, and you're supposed to be a pretty big part of it just because of if we can even just tweak it a little bit more in the fall, you're going to be a guy. And I think that's kind of what it ended up being towards the end of the fall. Was like, all right, we got somebody here.
Right. I mean, in the fall, I picked up the cutter and the splitter.
The infamous splitter, yeah.
Which is all, I would say the cutter is props to Spivey, and then the splitter is props to AK.
God, I thought you were going to say that. He doesn't deserve any credit. No, I'm kidding. You do. But
no, but that was really the game changer for me because you can't have a starter with two pitches.
That's
it
right.
doesn't work.
That's right.
So I needed two other pitches at least, or at least one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you grew. I mean, everybody knew how great your curveball was and how much your fastball played up, but having those two pitches obviously catapulted you into a weekend role initially. If I remember correctly, it was Spivey, then you Saturday, and then Gross on Sunday. And then you guys, I think we went through that first series. I don't remember who we played.
We played
Wasn't Ryder.
No,
who was it?
That was this year.
I can't remember. Anyway, we played that first series, but then Spivey wasn't able to go week 2 against Carolina, and you stepped into that Friday night role at home in a pretty big game against their guy, and you pitched great. That was like your coming out party of like, yeah, I'm here to stay, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I love those those in-state rivalry games, and it was the first one I got to start, and it was probably the biggest one I got to start that year, and I mean I took full advantage of it, but I mean I don't even know what to say. Like it was just an awesome experience.
Yeah. This episode is also brought to you by Taylor's Forklift in Greenville, North Carolina, your one-stop shop for everything forklifts. We offer new and used forklifts, floor scrubbers, scissor lifts, telehandlers, all-terrain lifts, and much more. With a full-service parts and rental department, we offer on-site service and repairs as well as rentals. With over 100 lifts in stock, we are sure to have a lift that fits your needs. Free delivery and warranty on every sale as well. Call, click, or stop by today. Go Pirates! You can reach Taylor's Forklift at 252-215-5438 or visit them online at taylorsforkliftnc.com. I mean, I feel like that entire year it was all right, we hopefully are going to have 2 more years of this guy. But the fact that we had the 1-2 punch of you and Spivey, and then Spivey ended up getting moved to the bullpen, but the fact that you were able to really solidify yourself in that role and give us a starter for the first time in 2 years practically, it was huge for us. And even though we didn't host a regional, we ended up losing to Virginia, who, I mean, went to Omaha and almost won the thing. Like, that was a great experience for you solely just to grow up and genuinely learn what it took in Division I baseball. I mean, I feel like throughout that entire year you had great outings, you had great experiences, but being able to pitch in a regional game on the road, being able to pretty much have success. I mean, you pitched a couple games in relief in the conference tournament too, so you were experiencing it kind of all And I feel like that year really catapulted you into what you just experienced this past year.
Right. I mean, you can't really say the regional game was on the road because I pitched against Oklahoma game 1, and we had probably 5,000 fans there.
Literally.
So that was awesome. But, I mean, that whole year set me up for this past year I have because, every step of the way I take, I learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned what it truly takes to pitch an entire college season, which I didn't do. I took 1 week off because you had some arm soreness, whatnot, but it was definitely a great thing for not only myself, but I mean, I would say like the guys around everybody to like watch. Because again, 2022 we didn't have starters,
literally at all.
2023 we did, and so it was different. It was a different vibe in the pitching staff
for everybody, yeah.
Because guys were like, dang, I can go out there, and especially younger guys were like, dang, I can go out there and pitch 6 innings.
Yeah, and I think that was such a big help for your class because I feel like they had I think the pitchers that were around really were like solidified guys that had proven it at that level. So they had people like to look to be like, okay, that's how it's done at this level to succeed and stuff like that. And I think at that point, obviously it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but I think that year, without the success, proved that we can do it this year. Like, I think that literally, for the pitching staff specifically, I think proved that, hey, yeah, we might be losing a couple like seniors and guys that have been here for a while, but that staff is going to be deep next year.
No, I agree.
And I think that, at least for me personally, I think that's what gave me so much confidence with our team going into this year that we just had. But going back to that, your sophomore year, you finish that up, and then you get the amazing opportunity to go play for Team USA, which was I've seen pictures and stuff, but I've never been able to experience it. So what was that like?
That was awesome. Being able to play with like the best of the best, and you like I would say age range, like it's not you don't have like juniors, seniors in there,
right?
So it's
all
sophomores and freshmen.
Yeah, right.
So like the best of the best from your age range coming together to represent your country. It was amazing. The coolest experience I have from that is on 4th of July we walked off Chinese Taipei.
Yeah,
and watched
America.
Watched fireworks show after that.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But getting to experience and play against Chinese Taipei, Team Japan, like that, who else can, like, not a lot of people can say they did that. Like it's amazing, and getting to wear that red, white, and blue across your chest was awesome.
Did you get to? Well, first of all, who did with your teammates? Are you still close with any of those guys now? Like specifically, I guess just either the pitchers or whoever else. I know you said you were close with Fran O'Shell from Duke.
Yeah.
But is there any other people that you still keep in touch with from those kind of teams?
Not really. Everyone's at different stages in their career right now. I'm sure now that we're all moving into pro ball, it's probably going to be a little more of like a close knit, like see more guys more often because from playing in Team USA, I didn't really see anybody this college season that I played with.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll see some people around. I saw a bunch of guys at the draft combine in June that was talked to and whatnot, but I really haven't talked to many other people than that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's still, people have probably seen the pictures on your Instagram and stuff and all the other, you've got your jersey hanging in your, like, that is, I couldn't only imagine how much of a cool experience it was because Jake and Pac played in 19 and 8, I think it was 18. Wiz played, I don't know if anybody else has, but it's one of a kind. It's truly an honor to be able to represent your country like that. But you finish that up, hopefully have some time off after going full speed for 8 months, whatever it was. But you come into your junior year. I think you got some time off after that at the beginning of the fall. But you're still tabbed to be the guy. So what was, I guess, I'm assuming you could probably feel a little bit of pressure on yourself in the fall, but then preseason and I know we always preach, don't, the rat boys and whatever, like, don't read into that stuff, but it's hard not to see it when you were literally preseason All-American, everything. Preseason player of the year, pitcher of the year, everything. And it's like,
it's also hard not to see it when guys are printing out pictures of it and posting it in the pitching interview.
Yeah, I wonder who did that. Isn't that weird? But I feel like I was coach night, everybody. But I feel like it's. Were you able and you can be honest now because it's all over. Were you able to actually not pay attention and keep out the noise, or were you? And it's not that you necessarily didn't see it; it's that you didn't react to it. But I feel like it's so hard when it's being shoved down your throat every single day.
I would honestly say it was easier in the preseason and the spring than it was in the fall.
Yeah,
the fall, again, there's so many expectations,
right?
But I'm still fighting for my spot.
Yeah.
If I don't do good, I'm not pitching Friday nights.
And I don't think a lot of people would have that mindset. I don't think a lot of people would just kind of mail it and be like, yeah, I'm pitching Friday. Doesn't matter how I do.
Right. And in all honesty, I thought Zach Root had a better fall than me.
I remember that.
When we vote every year about who we thought the best pitcher was.
Right.
I voted Zach
because
I thought he was more efficient, got more outs, let up less runs, and I was like, dang, am I gonna be the Friday guy?
Right.
But in all honesty, I knew. It sounds selfish of me to say.
I know, but you're right though, because I remember vividly when you two, because the way we do the purple gold draft, you are matched up positionally with somebody else that plays your position.
Right.
So if me and Trey are drafting players and you want to take Dixon Williams or Zach Agnos, if I take Dixon, he gets Zach. So you two were matched up in the purple gold draft, and there were people talking, being like, I'm going to take Zach. And I think somebody did take Root over you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have never seen Trey get so upset over something in baseball.
I was not upset.
Dude, you were pissed.
I was like,
you are lying through your teeth if you don't say you were mad.
I wouldn't say I was mad. I was just keeping some receipts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's all it was. And I was lucky to have enough to have you on my team. But it goes to show that other people thought that he had a better fall than you too if they're picking him over you in the draft and stuff.
Right. Also, our team's mostly lefties.
Yeah.
Lefty.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, right.
No, but the noise, it's not that hard to block out. When the season's right in front of you, you're like, I have to go pitch. I don't have any other choice. If I don't do good, I'm not going to get drafted as high as I did. But you can't worry about that. You just still have to go pitch and play for your teammates.
Yeah, and I think that was what was so good was because especially with your class, I mean, dude, you guys had up and down. You're talking about you, JC, all these other guys were you play well, you're going to be top 5 rounders, all of you, Schenk included. It was if you guys stay healthy and play up to your potential and expectations, I mean, you guys are looking at probably the best draft class in ECU baseball history, nonetheless, lately. And it's just for you guys especially, and I don't think everybody can say what you just said in terms of blocking it out. I think that you did a really good job because you were the same guy the whole time. Even after all this stuff was coming out about how, you're the best pitcher, you're the best thing since sliced bread, all this stuff, you're so good, blah, blah, blah. You were the same guy the entire time. You didn't big league anybody. You didn't treat anybody any different. And it's a credit to you because I think that kind of mindset, Dietz used to say the game knows. And I think you being so humble and being yeah, whatever, I still got to prove it, goes to show why you had such a good season.
I believe in that. The game does know.
No, it seriously, it does. That's a fact.
If you don't do things the right way, the baseball gods are going to strike you down and do something to you. Nothing you want.
Yeah, I was about to say, it never goes the way you want it to. Today's episode is also brought to you by Curtis Construction. Since 1960, they've been dedicated to servicing commercial roofs with an unwavering commitment to quality, integrity, and service excellence. Curtis Construction offers a range of services, including roof replacements, restoration, repairs, preventative maintenance, inspections, and emergency services. Whether you need a reliable roof provider or want to learn more about the trade, visit curtiscc.com or give them a call at 252-523-1078. They are great folks over there. They've always been big supporters, again, of me and ECU Baseball. They've always been around Greenville and supporting everybody athletics, so you should go support them as well. Because whatever it is gets done in the darkness will always come to light. But you obviously, dude, you had a great year. I was looking at your stats before we did this interview, and it was 6 straight starts of 6 1/3 plus. And like you said, 2 years prior, that would have been you're a witch. You're not this is crazy. It's crazy to think about. But going into the season, there were a couple of weeks in a row where it's Trey and Root are. One, you were Golden Spike semifinalist, and Root was up there right up until he got hurt. Schenk was right up there until he got hurt. Like, to have those three guys as your stalwarts of, I mean, I don't want to say this, but in my mind, it was like, pitching-wise, roll the balls out, we're going to win Friday. Mm-hmm. If Root is actually paying attention and on his stuff, we're going to win Saturday. And then, I mean, you guys are both going probably 6-7 innings, and then we'll have, you could throw out AK on Sunday, and we'll just have Schenk clean it up, and we'll figure it out from there. Like, that's how confident it was. And going back to what I was saying about about his sophomore year, that is what I was saying was, like, those young guys developed so well to where when they were juniors, it's like, dude, it doesn't matter who we play. It's not going to matter. As long as we stay healthy, we're going to be in business.
Right. You look at the first half of last year, everyone was healthy I would say most guys were healthy on both the pitching and hitting side of things.
Sure.
And then what kind of nipped us in the butt was injuries and nagging injuries come late season.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what, I don't want to say necessarily torpedoed it for at least a little while there, but I think that is kind of what threw a wrench in it because guys were having to get used more. Guys were having to get thrown into the fire that didn't normally play, especially position player-wise. And I think that is what kind of created that ruffle there for a month or two was like getting swept at Tulane, losing to Duke at home, all that stuff. It was just tough because guys were having to step up that hadn't stepped up before, and we, as guys that were already like in the fight quite a bit, we're just getting like beaten to the ground with like, dude, we don't have an option. You got to go out there again, kind of thing. I mean, I think during that stretch was the time where you were going like 6-7 innings every single because we didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I had a stretch where I threw at least 100 pitches for multiple weeks.
Yeah, and it's like I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you'd ever even come close to that at any point in your career. Like that is, and it was. We were starting to think like we might need to rest you for a week because of the fact that like we've thrown him a ton, and we're going to need him later.
I got my rest for a week.
Yeah, you did. Speaking of, so we play Rice. Mm-hmm. We win. Games on Saturday. We clinch. We go out, party, have a great time, celebrate as we all should. Sunday we relax. Monday, we leave for Clearwater.
We left Sunday.
Left Sunday for Clearwater. Okay. You got treatment on Friday because you started Thursday. Correct?
Correct.
Take us through that entire week and a half of essentially hell.
Yeah, so started off with a good start Friday. Thursday, that's right. Yep. My best friends were in town from home.
It was great.
It was great
Everybody,
to see them.
Yeah,
Everyone was
awesome.
having a great time. And like usual, the day after I start, I get dry needled. And I was getting needled in my back like I usually do. And I felt a pain in my chest while I was laying down. I didn't say anything in the moment. But I was like, that felt really weird.
It didn't feel good.
I get up off the table and I say something about it. I was like, any chance like my lung could have got hit? And people were like, no, there's no way. Yeah. And that was before our doubleheader on Friday.
So we did play doubleheader Friday because it was going to rain Saturday. That's right.
So we played doubleheader Friday. And game one, when you're at East Carolina, it's not like the big leagues. Like if you're on the bench, you're cheering for your teammates.
Sure.
You're causing a ruckus, and I'm yelling. I'm standing up, and I'm like, I keep having to bend over.
I remember.
Like my chest was so tight.
Yeah.
I was in so much pain. Like I couldn't yell. I couldn't do anything. And in between the games, I went in and I was like this is bothering me.
Right.
So got my lungs listened to. They said it sounded fine. Went back out there for game two. Same deals going on. Ended up winning game two. We're doing our jungle lap.
Oh, dude.
I physically could not inhale oxygen. I was like,
no.
I was like choking. And I think I put my arm around like Eric Ritchie. I'm like, Eric, I need help.
Yeah, I remember when we were. I remember when I can't remember if it was if I remember correctly, it was game one because I think it was during the day. But you're like screaming, and you and me would normally stand next to each other on the bench, and you like kept sitting down, and I'm like, dude, there's no way you're that tired. Like, get up, like you're fine. And he's like, no, like I think something's wrong, and I'm like, get up, you're fine. And then as time went on, like it was 3 or 4 innings later, and you were still doing it. I'm like, all right, like talk to me. And he's like, I think like my lungs screwed up. Like I don't know what's wrong. Like I can't like breathe right now. And I'm like, all right, well, have you gotten it checked out? And you're like, no, not yet. I was going to do it after the game. And I'm like, well, is it bothering you that bad? He's like, I want to do it right now. Like, I want Kevin to go get checked, Kevin Youngs. And he's like, and I'm like, I mean, if you feel like you need to, he's like, all right, I'll just wait. And then, I mean, like you said, that entire day and practically night was just, you couldn't breathe, literally.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the jungle jog.
The worst pain was, for some reason, when I would sleep at night, I would lay down and then I could sit up after I was like wake up in the morning.
Right.
And it felt like there was liquid inside me just draining down through like in me. It was the weirdest feeling ever. Like, it was an awful feeling. But we swept Rice, correct?
Sure did.
And we conference regular season champs, so we had to celebrate that night.
Sure.
Had a great time with the team, and the next day I think I had like a lift or something, and I went back into the training room and I told him again. I was like, "This is bothering me." And I was asked if I'm like congested at all. And I was like, "Yeah, a little bit." And like they just wrote it up to be a chest cold. So I was like, "All right, I guess we're riding with that."
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Next day, Sunday, fly to Clearwater, and it's a big no-no with punctured lung or whatever.
After you find out later.
To fly.
Yeah.
Like after I figured out I had a punctured lung, I was not allowed to fly for 6 weeks or something like that. Yeah. But fly down to Clearwater. I am winded carrying my suitcase to the elevator. I couldn't breathe carrying my suitcase to the elevator.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Dude, like you need to do something." I'm like, I have.
Yeah. You did literally everything that you could up to that point. You went to the right people, like you did. You told them what was wrong, and they're just like, "I don't know, dude."
Yeah. So that night, I went to dinner with your family and Wyatt's family.
Yep.
And we're sitting outside waiting for we're standing outside waiting for our table to be ready. And I couldn't stand up.
Yeah, no, you had to keep sitting down. Yeah.
I kept bending over a bike rack. And you and Wyatt were like, "Dude, say something." I'm like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Monday, our practice in Clearwater, and I threw a bullpen. Again, winded in the middle of it. Had to bend over and try and catch my breath. And Coach Knight was like, "What's going on?" Like, he's freaking out because like
it's our best pitcher, and I would freak out too.
Like, he thinks I'm hurt or something
with all the injuries. Sure.
And I'm like, "I'll tell you when I'm done." So like, I'm kind of like seeing stars because I have barely any oxygen going into me. I finished my pen. I dap up J-Dub, and he's like, "All right, seriously, what's going on?" So I told him, and he yelled at a few people to take care of him. Take me to the hospital or to go see a doctor that day.
Well, before that, we went to go lift.
No, this was before lift.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, okay. And then I proceeded to go work out with the team, and was monitored by the strength coach and trainer. And they're like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm hanging in there." And it wasn't until we left the weight room where I met Coach G out in the parking lot. He's like, "We're just going to get you checked out. Just peace of mind." He's like, "Do you want to do that?" I'm like, "Yes, please."
Buddy, yeah, sign me up. Please. I wanted to do that 3 days ago.
Yes, please. So with the traffic down there, it was like an hour and a half drive to USF's student health facility.
And they were grateful enough to take you because I think our training staff got hooked up with their training staff because they normally run the conference tournament down there. You always have to have a training staff that is on site and stuff. And they were gracious enough to be able to like let you actually, hey, come use our doctors. Like, let's get you taken care of, dude.
Yeah. So I go there and get a chest X-ray. I'm in the car back to the hotel in Clearwater and get a phone call. I was like, "Yeah, you have a pneumothorax," which is, I don't know exactly what it means. It's like a punctured lung, like collapsed lung, like kind of like combination of the two, I guess. So we detoured from our route to Clearwater to our route to the Tampa General Hospital, where they had a room ready for me as soon as I got there. Hopped up on the bed, had a lady that has never put a chest tube in my ribs here.
You're just getting all the right treatment, aren't you, buddy? Jeez.
So it's like it wasn't like a true chest tube. It was they call it pigtail, which is a little bit smaller, but they just numb you up and shove it inside your chest cavity, which was the weirdest feeling. I could feel them breaking through like muscle fibers and tissues and stuff. and literally just pushing it into my chest cavity.
Jeez, dude.
But the ladies there were very nice. It got everything I needed.
Was because Taylor was down there by that point, right?
Yeah. So
Taylor's his girlfriend.
My girlfriend Taylor and my parents were on a flight down to Clearwater to come to the tournament and turn it into a little vacation for them. And I go to the hospital and I'm getting my chest tube put in while they're in the air, in flight. So I text them in a group chat. I'm like, hey, not the way you want your...
Not going to see us until you land, but hey.
Not the way you want your vacation to start, but I'm in the hospital with a partially collapsed lung. I'll give you so-and-so's number so you can figure out where I'm at, and I'll see you later.
You want to talk about your heart dropping as a mother. Good Lord.
So I could only imagine how they landed, and you know how when you land, you're checking your phone when you get
It's
cell
popping
service.
up. It's like, oh, no.
My mom's probably like, oh, Trey texted me. I was like, oh.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, God. But everyone was so supportive of me. I did have one encounter. It was the first night I was there. Some guy.
Oh, yeah, you've told me.
This actually made me. This is probably the most upset I've ever been. Was this? I don't even know. He wasn't a doctor. I don't know. He was some kind of staff in the hospital. He came in, woke me up at 2:30 in the morning, and was like drenched in sweat. It was the weirdest thing ever.
It's like it was probably. You mean,
Yeah, I don't even know.
Probably
if
a
it was
fever.
real.
It's probably a fever
I
dream.
don't know if it was real, but my mom slept in the room in the chair, like
Right.
the recliner in there, and she says he was there. I don't know if it was the devil or what.
Jeez, dude.
But he came in. He's like, yeah, you're never playing. Or he said, you're not playing the rest of the season. I'm like, yeah, just chalk it up. Like the most rude encounter I've ever had with a medical professional in my life. And I was like,
We can laugh about it now, but
Yeah.
in the moment you're like, dude, I'm gonna kill you.
and then he's like, all right, so you, and, like walked out and like.
Was he wearing scrubs?
No, He was wearing like khakis and like a polo.
Maybe it was like a Tulane fan or something. I don't know.
Must have been. Gosh. But like that, like after he left, like I had like tears in my eyes. Like I was,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was
How
like,
can you not?
I'm not gonna play with my best friends.
Yeah.
For, like the last few weeks we have, like that made me so upset. But then I actually met with like actual medical professionals.
Yeah, guys that actually know
not
what they're
guys
talking
that are
about.
just rolling off the street and told
Yeah.
me like I'll be fine to pitch in 10 days.
Yeah. I mean, I like that whole story is nuts to me just from the start of like how much. I mean, it was a week's time of like, and it was a roller coaster of some time. Like at some point during the week, you probably internally before you even got checked out, I was like, all right, something's wrong. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like if I have to go out and pitch before I get checked out, I might die.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yeah.
I mean, you probably would have passed out. And even afterwards finding out, hey, yeah, you probably shouldn't have flown because your lungs could have collapsed and you would have died on the plane. Like that is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think, because I mean, you had to drive back with what? You
I
drove back with Matt, right?
I drove back with Jaden Winter's parents
Yep.
to their house in Raleigh, and then I had Eric Ritchie's girlfriend pick me up from Raleigh and drive me to Greenville.
The hell of a ride.
It was interesting.
This episode's also brought to you by Tiebreakers. Tiebreakers is open every day at 11 a.m. and is the best place to watch your favorite sports while enjoying the best wings in town. Sandwiches, appetizers, cold beer are also served. Follow Tiebreakers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates. Tiebreakers in Greenville at Bells Fork on Greenville Boulevard and in downtown Winterville on a Railroad Street. They are run by great people. The Andersons are awesome. I work with their kids all the time. They have been great to me. I sat with them at the banquet when I was a freshman. You should go support them as much as they support us. So go give them a look and enjoy their food.
I was able to come back and join the fellows for the festivities.
But I feel like at that point, I mean, after having so much success, obviously your journey was crazy with your freshman year into Charlottesville to your sophomore year, having a great sophomore year, playing with Team USA, all of these expectations, all of these high expectations. You met them the entire year. Like there was never an unwavering doubt that you were the guy. You were going to be a first-round draft pick. Like obviously with the stuff that we've done with Carter and the Bible studies and the discipline equals freedom stuff, us going to church on Easter all together, all of this other stuff. Was your like faith, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, like affected during it? Was it ever like, all right, woe was me, why is this happening to me? Or was it always like, all right, this sucks right now, but it's part of the plan? That's part of his plan.
I mean, whenever something bad happens to anybody, their first reaction is always why.
Yeah. Right.
And it doesn't matter who you are. You're always like, why? So at first I was like, why does it have to be at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't it have been
Sure.
a month ago?
Yeah.
And like I would have been able to be healthy for the postseason.
Yeah.
But then I remembered my Lord and Savior does everything for a reason.
Right.
I don't know what the reason is. No one will ever know what the reason is. But laying in that hotel bed, I talked to God a lot, and he was with me the entire time. And I know the team and the moms, game one when I was in the hospital, they prayed for me, and
Yeah.
it means the world to me for everyone that supported me then. Not only God, but friends, family, fans, coaches, teammates. Like it was definitely a tough time to have to lay in a hotel bed and watch my best friends play without me and me not be there. That was really tough for me. But like I said, everything happens for a reason, and you know, I don't know. Like I've definitely grown through it or grown from it. I would say my faith was unwavered because again, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were in Clearwater playing, obviously, and you were people. I mean, even other kids from other teams were asking about how you were, and there were times where it was actually really cool, and like you just got really emotional where they like the parents would come down to not field level, but right down the third base line, which is where our dugout was, and we would all say a prayer. We do the Lord's Prayer, and then we pray for you. And it was I don't even know if you ever knew that or saw pictures of it, but it was every bit of 35 to 40 people, like even parents of other teams, like coming down and praying with us, and it was just like it just goes to show, like I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like it goes to show how crazy stuff like that can seem in the moment, but how much it can bring people together to all support someone that we all know and love. But like through all that time, like you just said, like it never wavered. Mm-hmm. It was never like, why is this happening? You know, like you, talking to him as much as you possibly could when you were in the hospital room. Like we had a small group this morning, and I was in Carter led it, and we were talking about faith as a whole. And it reminded me, obviously, when I knew we were doing this interview today, that it was like you never even like thought for a second that it wasn't going to go and be a part of his plan, whether it was good or bad, that you were content with it. But obviously, it turned out pretty good. Like it was such a long, excruciating week at literally, like you said, the worst possible time. Like quite possibly the most excruciating, uneventful. Like could not have been at a worse time. But as he does all the time, he makes it make sense eventually. And you were able to come back, and it was one of the coolest experiences that I've been a part of over a 2-week span of seeing your faith, one, tested, but two, moved on to the fact that you get to come back. You don't pitch Friday, moving on to the regional. You pitch Saturday against Wake.
Yep.
And one of the coolest moments, games, experiences, baseball, any life that I've ever been a part of. We obviously found out after we lost Friday that we were not going to be able to go, that we were going to lose the tournament. Then we made it out to back home, saw that Tulane won the conference championship that night, found out that we were hosting. And all that week, we're obviously being like, is Trey going to be Trey, essentially? I mean, is he going to be full strength? What are we going to do? And we do as we always do. We always throw our number 2 on Friday when we host regionals and stuff. And Zach threw and didn't throw bad. We just didn't pull the game out. But I think all that week, there was a lot of, I guess, worry that you were not going to be okay. And again, a lot of prayer that, one, that you were okay and nothing was going to happen while you were pitching, but that you were back to normal for a bigger purpose of just coming out and showing everybody that you were like back to being Trey, like the Trey we know and love. And obviously we get out there, and that was the coolest game I've ever been a part of. Just obviously us losing, us coming together Friday night, talking about it. Saturday, it's like, all right, it is our best versus theirs. And I remember, were you in the hitters meeting that day? I think you were, or maybe
I
not.
don't think so.
I remember.
Oh no, I was. Yeah.
Remember Coach Godwin talking about facing Chase Burns, and he was so like fired up that I'm like, Coach Godwin's sitting leadoff today. Like he was so excited that we were getting the chance to even like be on that like stage of the fact that Wake lost to VCU Friday night, so we get to play them, and it's like, all right, you want some, come get some kind of thing. And it was you going out there and proving everybody that you are the man was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was the matchup I wanted, not in the right bracket that I wanted. I wanted it to be in the winners bracket, but it was the matchup that I wanted. And going back to the lung, I was told like a minimum of 10 days, and then I can go back on the mound. And it didn't matter if I didn't feel good or not. I was still pitching that game, and because that Saturday was the 10th day, like where I was cleared to pitch, and it was the most awesome atmosphere I pitched in, especially as a starter. Like we could say, the 2022 Super Regional was that whole weekend was awesome, but this one singular game that our backs were against the wall, win or go home, like that was awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean even after you came out, it was obviously a disaster pitching wise, but we ended up pulling it out, and it was like,
what did it take 7 guys to get 5 outs?
I mean, you came out in the 7th, 8th, and then I came in and screwed it up, and then everybody else came in and screwed it up, and then we finally got it done in the end with the offense. But like that experience is that your favorite moment as a Pirate?
It definitely is.
It's not even close. I don't think it's close either. If I were you, at least, but for one last game to go out like that, I don't think you could draw it up better than that, especially after, like I said, all the things that had happened leading up to that.
No, definitely. I got emotional that game after I was getting taken out, because
and the coolest picture of all time too.
I wasn't emotional because I thought it was going to be my last game as a Pirate. I thought we were going to win it all, and I was going to be able to pitch against Tennessee, but I thought it was most likely my last time pitching in front of the best fan base in the country.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And they're the people that raised me into the pitcher I am right now.
Yeah, and for people that haven't seen that picture, hopefully we can find a way to get it to you guys. But it is one of the coolest pictures of you walking off the mound after you get taken out, hugging Coach Godwin, hugging all the guys in the infield, and then walking off and tipping your cap to all the guys in the stands above us. And I was like, I kind of want to get that frame. That's so cool. Like, the fact that you pitched that well in such a big moment against literally the unanimous preseason #1 team in the country. Like, they were supposed to win it all. They're supposed to go undefeated. And in that moment at home, last time pitching in Clark LeClaire, like, could not have been better. And could not have been happy for that. Couldn't have happened to a better guy to begin with. But obviously end up losing a couple of days later in a tough Monday game. But obviously there were broader horizons ahead, and you got a chance to get drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah. Very thankful for the Blue Jays because, again, like I said, since where we started this podcast when I was 15 years old, this is where, when I decided I wanted to play college baseball, I didn't just want to play college baseball. I wanted to play in the big leagues and get drafted and whatnot. I didn't think it would turn out anyway, like the way it did. But I mean, it's a dream come true, and I get to be a professional. I get to play a children's game for a living, which is awesome.
Yeah, literally. What was the and I know a bunch of us were there at your house, but what was the moment that you got the call like? Because I know, at least from our perspective, obviously it's different for you because you're actually in it getting the calls, but from our perspective, we're like on the edge of our seat every single pick from like 5 on, and we're like, and they never came. And then I think we kind of got an inkling around like 18 where it's like, it's coming soon. Yeah. And then you finally get the call. But what was that like?
It was awesome. I mean, I definitely got picked later than I think a lot of people thought I was.
Guilty.
But I got a phone call from my agent, and I was like, this has got to be the one.
It has to be, right?
Yeah. So I walked away from all 70 people that were there, answered it, and they're like, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to pick you. And I was like over the moon.
You were like floating.
Yeah, it was such a special experience to be around my closest family and friends and old coaches and whatnot. And Coach Godwin and Coach AK both made the drive, or they flew up to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was about to say on this. Yeah, they flew.
But it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, but then a new weight went on my shoulders. Like I got to this goal, like that goal was off my shoulders, but now it's like make it to the big
It's the next pillar.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But obviously, you mentioned earlier the draft was tremendous. You got the opportunity, signed for a bunch of money, but now you were in Dunedin for a while. What was the, I guess, post-draft up to now point like? Was it, I guess, one, what did they have you do while you were down there? And two, what is the big, and I asked Carter this last week, what is the biggest difference that you've noticed between professional baseball and college baseball? So I guess it's a two-parter.
Yeah, so they had me, I really wasn't doing much down there. They didn't want me thrown into games. Like they thought there was no point of building me up to just shut me down again, to build me up for the spring again.
Right.
So they did build me up a little bit to get or throw some pens because they wanted to get like a baseline on me, see where I'm at.
Sure.
And from what I know, they liked everything they saw.
I sure hope so.
They told me
Jeez, dude.
not to change the per pitcher I am because they drafted me for a reason and whatnot, all the good stuff. But I was just throwing and lifting down there, and I probably got to the field around 8 and was gone by 12:30 every day.
And for all the listeners that heard last week, this is exactly what Carter was talking about, how he's there for 8 hours, Trey's there for 2.5. This is the best part.
No, Carter's definitely there a lot longer than I am because he has to hit, throw, field, lift, do all the good stuff.
Right.
The one difference is they have us doing conditioning every day.
Yeah, not a fan.
We didn't do in the spring.
Sure
we did it for 5 weeks in the fall.
Yeah,
we got here, but then
to
after
the turf,
that,
sure.
We didn't really do any conditioning. But the biggest difference I would say is like you're on your own.
Yeah,
like I pretty much call most of the shots. Like I decide what I want to do, and sure the Blue Jays are my employer, but like it's my career, so I am in control of everything.
It's got to be kind of exciting though, as opposed to here where I'm not saying AK was like controlling or Coach G was controlling, but it's their program and you're their player, as opposed to you're playing. The Blue Jays are paying you to play, but it's your decision on how you choose to like be their employer, if that makes sense. Like you are making the choices on how you're going to be successful and make the money that they have given you, as opposed to here where it's like you are playing for the coaches. They are the ones that are calling the shots.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But well, good, man. I'm glad you could actually make it on finally. I know you're
finally. This is the second week.
I know, but
finally.
but you say finally, and then you're giving me a hard time that Carter got to come on before you all this past week. But no, seriously, I hope that everybody got to find some new stuff out about you, and obviously hear some cool stories and hear about your walk in terms of obviously such an emotional time and your journey through the fact that you were 15 years old and you're like, I might try this whole baseball thing. It'd be pretty cool. But to where you are now. But I'm glad you come on, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me.